Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Leigh Fuge, and in this video today we're going to be talking about the Lenny from J.Rockett Audio Designs. As the name of the pedal and the little image of the hat suggest, this is a Stevie Ray Vaughan voiced pedal. This is quite simply a boost pedal. Doesn't really have a huge amount of tweakability, but it doesn't really need to. It colors your tone in just the right way. When J.Rockett started designing this pedal, the original aim was to get that loud, clean, double steel string singer style sound that Stevie Ray Vaughan is known for. But as they were designing that, they sort of took it on a slightly different direction. So this, instead of it being super loud and super clean, it's actually quite a colorful boost. It adds just a hint of breakup at the top end, kind of like if you had one of those amps absolutely dimed and you were just achieving that sweet breakup tone. This is what that pedal will give you. By adding that little extra grit, you get this additional texture to your guitar tone. It doesn't give you heaps and heaps of boost or heaps and heaps of headroom, but it just pushes your guitar that little bit extra into the front of the amp, so the amp's natural characteristics and breakups start coming out. This does have quite a defining mid push as well, so it works really well if you imagine like a Dumble style amp with a tube screamer going in the front. This kind of gets you in that ballpark. This boost does add a little color to your tone, so it's not a clean boost by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a great color to be adding. Like I said, it gives you that kind of mid push, and if you're playing through a loud amp, this will really make your guitar cut through the mix. It also plays really well with other pedals, so if you run this at the front of your chain, you can push into other pedals and create some really cool textures. So the pedal itself is incredibly simple. We've got a simple on and off switch, we've got a boost control which controls the amount of boost, and a tone control which controls the tone of the pedal. So obviously the higher this is set, the brighter the output signal, and the higher this is set, the more it's boosting. Very simple interface, doesn't really require much time to get used to. Like all the other J.Rockett stuff that I've tried, this is certainly something that's built for the stage. This thing is absolutely rock solid. It's one of probably the most robust pedals I think I've ever felt. It really does feel like you could throw this thing around and it, you know, maybe the case would get dented, but it would still work. It's pretty heavy duty feeling, and yeah, you know this thing would last for many years on your pedal board. So I suppose there's not really a lot to say about this thing, so let's plug it in and see what it sounds like, shall we? For this video, I'm going to be using my Shergold Masquerader. It's a triple single coil guitar, gives you those stratty type sounds. I'm plugged into the Blackstar Studio 10 6L6, which is mic'd with a Leigh Audio LCT 440 condenser mic. And over here on my desk, I have some additional pedals. I've got the Analog Man King of Tone, which I will be using for some drive later on in the video. This is the high gain version, so I've got the sides set relatively similar, but this side has a little bit more gain. And I've got the Boss Chromatic Tuner, which you don't need to worry about that. That's just for tuning purposes. I've got the Lenny right at the front of the chain, so it's going to be pushing into the King of Tone. So before we turn the boost on, here is how the amp sounds completely clean. All the reverb you're hearing is coming from the amp. So let's set everything on the Lenny to 12 o'clock and turn it on. So straight away you can hear that adding a little bit of grit and a little bit of brightness. It really does boost the volume and push those mids forward, but there's not a ton of gain added. There's just that little bit of dynamic breakup. Obviously the harder you hit, the more it breaks out. Now where you could really run this thing is if you set the boost fairly low, and you can dial the tone control to your own taste with this. You could use it like an always on sort of amp coloring boost. So if I actually turn it off a sec, I've got the boost quite low, I'll turn it back on so you can hear the difference it makes. Kind of unity gain, but a little bit above. So you can hear it gives just a little bit of a lift and a little bit of a push. Now again, you could add some sparkle to that by turning the tone control up. And it works great for that kind of thing as well. You can really tweak it to taste if you just want a little bit of a lift at the front end of your signal chain. The cool thing is because it has that kind of Stevie Ray mid-voiced, sort of mid-pushed thing going on, it's really cool just to get your entire clean tone sounding, you know, Stevie Ray-ish. If you love players like Stevie Ray Vaughan, John Mayer, Kenny Wayne Shepherd, this is a great pedal to kind of get in that initial ballpark. That was on the neck pickup. If you go to that kind of position 4, you do get that kind of John Mayer-y sort of thing. So it's great for those chimey sort of clean tones. Now where this pedal really comes alive is when we start to push the boost beyond 12 o'clock. So I actually prefer to dial the tone back a little bit. For me it gets a little bit too punchy in the top end when the tone's quite high. When you set the boost to about 2 o'clock, this is where we start to hit the front of the amp a little bit harder now and get a bit more breakup. So it's super dynamic. I'm digging in a bit harder there when I went to the chord part. You can hear the breakup coming through more and more. Let's crank the boost now all the way up. This is where we get that maximum push into the front end of the amp. You're not going to hear a ton of gain, but what you are going to hear is a little bit more push, definitely more mids going on there, and just more of that natural preamp power amp breakup, kind of like a cranked amp. So you can kind of get a bit of a feel what this thing is all about. It's not the sort of pedal that you're going to use as your sole gain stage, but you are going to use it as a sort of coloration pedal at the start of your chain. Kind of like I'm doing here, I'm using it just to push the amp a little bit more. So I can still get clean, even though I've got the gain, or the boost I should say, on full. I can actually be quite dynamic with my guitar here. So I can go from picking quietly and rolling back the volume slightly to really opening the guitar up and letting the amp do the work with the boost. Where the fun really starts is when we pair this with another pedal. So I'm going to turn the low gain side now on of my Analog Man King of Tone. I'll turn the Lenny off just so you can hear the boost that it adds. Tone control has quite a lot of additional top end on tap as well. So if I crank the tone control, the boost is going to work that little bit harder. It's going to work kind of like a, I guess, a mid-pushed treble booster. So there's a lot of top end there, way too much top end for my liking. Now actually this works really good as a low gain booster as well. I went straight in with the boost on full there, but if I have my, let's just go for the higher gain side actually. If I have my gain stage with a bit of overdrive and I just have the boost on about halfway, I can just push it that little bit harder. sometimes as a guitar player you need a boost pedal just to kind of take your tone somewhere else. Now, the Analog Man King of Tone sounds great, it's one of my favourite drive pedals, but paired with the Lenny, I think it does a kind of magical thing there. It's a really nice breakup tone, a lot of mid push, which the King of Tone doesn't have. It's kind of like pairing the King of Tone with like a tube screamer, but without the additional gain. So I really do like the Lenny, not just as a boost or like a utility pedal, but just as a coloration thing to your entire rig. It's pretty cool because you could plug into any amp, and using that kind of mid character, if that's your sound that is, you can really dial in any amp to sound the way you want it to sound. I think there's enough range in what the Lenny can do to really sound great with any setup. Now I've switched to a humbucker guitar now. I've switched to this Stanford Crossroad 35. This is like a 335 style with twin humbuckers, just to give you a bit of a flavor of what this pedal can do with humbucker tones. So I will just leave the Lenny as it is without the King of Tone switched on for now. So it plays great with humbuckers as well. Obviously when you use a humbucker, it's a higher output pickup, so the humbucker in its own right is hitting the amp that little bit harder. Again, when you put that into the Lenny, same thing. If I pair the Lenny now on full with a low gain overdrive with humbuckers, we should have some really cool sort of, not high gain tones, but pushed blues and classic rock tones. So there you go guys, there is the Lenny from J.Rockett Audio Designs. This is a super simple boost pedal. There's not really a lot that we can talk about in terms of what this thing can do, other than it's a great tone shaping pedal for your rig. So if you're looking for a boost pedal that will just give your input signal a nice shape and hit your gain pedals harder, or a boost pedal that will be really great for pushing your amp over the edge, the Lenny is definitely one to check out. Being a big fan of all those kind of steel string singer players, for me this was a pedal that was always on the list of things I wanted to try, and I'm very glad to say it does not disappoint. The main thing to remember is when you get this thing, don't expect it to make you sound like Stevie Ray Vaughan. Even though it's kind of voiced to that Stevie Ray tone, I didn't really think I sounded much like him when I was playing, because I'm not him. So obviously it's always worth remembering that the pedal isn't going to instantly give you that fix, but it's definitely going to get you that kind of flavor, that pushed sort of super high volume clean amp that's being pushed to the point where it's just breaking up. It will give you that tone. Obviously you're going to have to learn to play like Stevie before you can really cross that final hurdle, but it'll definitely get you on the right path. It's a great sounding pedal. It might not have a huge amount of features, but it doesn't need them because the core tone of this thing is fantastic. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please let me know down below in the comments what you thought of the Lenny by J.Rockett Audio Designs. If you've tried one yourself, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it as well. And while you're down there, don't forget to hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, because you guys doing that and subscribing to the channel is really helping me to keep on growing this, and it helps me keep making videos with great companies like J.Rockett Audio Design. So once again, thank you guys for watching. I look forward to hearing what you think down below in the comments. See you guys very soon.